Hello and welcome to Transmission. Tonight I am joined by Jem. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Jem, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I identify as genderqueer. I'm a counsellor. I'm also a library officer and a volunteer.
So whereabouts do you do volunteer work?
Here and there, but I guess one organisation is Genderqueer Australia and the Zoe Belle Gender Centre.
Okay. So Genderqueer Australia, so what sort of stuff do you do with that organisation?
It's basically a group that's set up for people who identify as genderqueer or trans or just questioning their gender, and we hold social afternoons on the first Saturday of every month.
Cool. So so genderqueer, so for someone who's not sort of familiar, what does genderqueer actually mean?
Well, I guess genderqueer means you could be trans, or you could identify as not quite. I don't know, actually. It's a really difficult term to try and encapsulate into one, but it's someone who's gender diverse. So it could be a trans person, it could be someone who just likes playing around with gender and androgyny, but we're really welcoming of all, including stuffed animals.
Excellent. They often get forgotten, the stuffed animals, of
It's
course.
very true, yes,
So I suppose, so what does genderqueer mean for you personally? What when you say that sort of you identify as genderqueer, what does that mean for you?
So I guess for me, genderqueer is I don't identify as female or male. I'm not really wanting to go down the whole track of having surgery to try and fit into one gender or another. And I just like being in between and I guess trying to blur the lines a little bit.
Yeah. And so when did you first start to sort of get awareness of your gender identity and start to, I suppose, play around with it a little bit?
When I discovered Drag Kings, which would have been in, God, 99, which is going back a bit.
Yeah.
But seeing Drag Kings, so girls dressing up as guys on stage, binding their chest, I just thought that looked really interesting, both as a performance, but also as playing around with your body or your identity.
Yeah.
So I guess I knew it then, and then I guess getting to know the trans community a little bit more and meeting people who identified as transgender.
Yeah.
That's kind of when I got an idea.
That you wanted to...
Kind of, yeah, that being a tomboy could be something I do for the rest of my life, that I don't have to fit into being a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose because, like, in terms of with genderqueer, in terms of like coming out as trans is can be quite easy, and well, not easy, but easy in terms of telling people I want you to use male pronouns, I identify as a guy, that sort of thing. People tend to understand that a little bit. Do you have you found sort of difficulties in coming out to people as genderqueer?
Yes, because I think I don't tell people. That's the main thing. So I don't actually come out and say, hey, guess what, I'm genderqueer, can you please call me this or use these pronouns?
Yeah.
But I think more and more I'm just asking, can you call me Jem? Can you not use pronouns? And I just go from there.
Yeah. So are there any situations where you do actually say, look, I am genderqueer, like, and sort of come out and do that, or not so much?
Yes, and I think I do it more in public situations or with strangers. So if with volunteer work and with work, if I'm at and about community event or here, for instance, I find it completely okay to talk about. But in work as a counsellor, if I'm working with a client or even with staff, I'm less likely to mention it. Yeah. Just because not knowing how to then explain this huge list.
Yeah. I suppose with that, does that mean that there's some form of, because if people don't necessarily know that you're identifying as genderqueer, so then perhaps using wrong pronouns and things like that, how do you manage to balance that sort of discomfort potentially with people using wrong pronouns?
Well, initially when, I guess, pre-genderqueer, I had a huge issue. I wanted to transition, I wanted to have surgery and be seen as male. And then after, I guess, finding a bit more balance inside myself and going onto hormones, I just found that I just didn't care what people saw. It was about being happy within myself.
Yeah. So, so you did sort of start hormones, and how was that process in terms of getting hormones when you're not necessarily identifying as a guy to sort of get, you know, how did that go?
Sometimes there's a lot of hoop jumping. I guess what the trans community says is jumping through hoops to get what you want. I try to be as honest to myself as possible.
Yeah.
But it is difficult when you want something and you know what you have to get through to get there.
And did you have specific, was there any specific sort of obstacles that were quite, difficult to overcome, or were all sort of manageable in the long run?
I guess the most difficult is trying to explain to someone, a medical professional or mental health professional, that you do not want to become a guy. And then for them to get their heads around it when they've been supporting the transgender community for so long.
And do you think that that's something that is going to potentially get easier as more people, because for me personally is that I've noticed a lot more people are talking about that they're sort of that gender fluidity and gender queer and gender non-conforming and all of those. Do you think that that's going to sort of have that flow-on effect and eventually be a little bit easier, or do you think it's a long way off still?
I think it is. I think it's already starting. I know a lot of young people are finding it a lot easier to kind of come out as genderqueer or not quite sure.
Yeah.
And definitely the trans community have got a lot of support with some medical professionals around Melbourne. So I think we're definitely going in the right direction, and we can see from overseas that people are already starting to just be who they want to be and not needing to go to male or female and have specific surgery.
Do you find within the trans community itself that there's a feeling that sort of genderqueer is you're not quite trans enough, or is there any of that sort of negativity, I suppose, towards being genderqueer?
I don't want to speak on behalf of the community,
Yeah.
but I know for me, I always thought I'm not trans enough, because I guess in my previous life, being seen as too dykey or too lesbian or too much of this or that, so not really feeling part of the community. And I guess still now it's hard when I'm interacting with people knowing that someone's maybe transitioned in the sense of they've had surgery and been on hormones for a year. I sometimes feel not jealous, but like I would like to be able to have that kind of life, to just be very straightforward and just go from one to another gender.
Yeah, I suppose it's not always that simple,
Yes.
Unfortunately, and that sort of coming back to comfort within yourself and things like that. So doing some amazing stuff in terms of voluntary work with Genderqueer Australia and Zoe Belle Gender Centre. Thank you so much, Jem, for joining us tonight and sharing us a little bit about your story. So a big thank you to Jem. You've been watching Transmission.
Welcome back. This is Transmission. What is the best thing about taking a gender journey? Let's find out.
What's the best thing about having taken your gender journey?
I just love the fact that with roller derby and with the spaces that I come into with roller derby, gender's not a question. It's you're here and you really love doing this sport, this thing.
The best thing is the matching, the outside to the inside. That's the best.
So Evie, what's the best thing about having taken your gender journey?
I think that for me the best thing is now being really comfortable in my body, and being really happy with myself. Just sort of being able to be honest with people around me as well. For so much time I felt like I had to hide a part of myself before I transitioned. And now that I've transitioned, I just feel like I can be my true self to everyone, and that's probably the best part, yeah.
The best thing about taking my gender journey is that I feel like I can live authentically. Actually the amount of acceptance I've had within my circle of friends. So yeah, it's been great.
I guess the best thing that's happened since taking my gender journey has probably been finally feeling as though I'm not lying to everyone around me. Like I had my family around and I had my friends around, but I didn't really feel like I was properly engaging with them before I came out, and thankfully I've had a really positive coming out experience and everyone's just taken to it and everyone's really loved and accepted me, and I just finally feel a lot more comfortable around them.
Becoming more confident that I know myself, I think, yeah.
The best thing about my gender journey? Probably just being able to be myself and sort of leave behind a lot of social anxiety issues that I think I had earlier on. That might have been because I was younger, but I think it was more to do with feeling uncomfortable about how my gender presented in the world.
I think the best thing is being able to be myself. I don't have to pretend to be somebody else anymore. So, yeah, I'm able to open up to people a lot better. They open up to me a lot more as well, I've noticed. So that's probably the best thing.
Wow, that's a very broad question that could lead to many answers. The best thing, I would definitely say having chest surgery and having a flat chest and roaming around shirtless, and yeah, definitely, I love my chest. Best $4,000 I've ever spent.
What's the best thing about having taken your gender journey?
I am a person who is much truer to my soul than I was. And as we speak today, it's actually 19 years to the day since I came out, so it's a birthday, spiritual birthday, and that is really what it's come about as. It's been this massive journey. Yeah, there's been potholes, but the suspension's held up and I'm still here and I'm still travelling, and I've sort of learnt a lot about myself and unloaded a lot of stuff, and I might be physically 48 and a half, but I do feel 19 and I'm going okay.
I guess it would be just being able to be comfortable in my own skin and to stop having to lie to people about who I am inside, and being able to represent the kind of person that I want to be on the outside.
Oh, getting out the other side of it. It does give you perspective of lots more wider variety of the human race. But just finally getting out the other side to be able to live in the world as I choose and be related to by complete strangers as male.
It's been the surprises, probably. You know, you expect the kind of, you know, bodily changes, some of the emotional changes, but things like sense of touch, sense of taste, sense of smell, taste in food, so many things that I did not expect to be affected by going down my hate, because I'm medically transitioning. I did not expect them to be affected, and it's been wild. It's just weird. I'm addicted to spicy food now. I could never eat chili before. It was, you know, so it's, I suppose, the surprises.
What's the best thing about having taken your gender journey so far?
I think it's that the world sees me how I want to be seen. I just feel more comfortable in myself, and yeah, I guess it's just, I just feel more at peace with myself more than ever before. So yeah.
I think it's the freedom to experiment with, like, I don't know, just different things in life, and having the courage now to try different things, and just a sense of freedom, really. Throughout everything I do in life.
I guess just much more comfortable, much more happy with myself and my life, and there's a lot of extra stress, I guess, about things, of course, but overall, I'm a lot happier with myself. Had a lot of problems, self-esteem and that sort of thing, but feeling a lot more comfortable. A lot happier.
What is the best thing about having taken your gender journey?
Being myself and knowing that I'm being true to myself, and knowing that I'm living my life the way I should be living it and not the way others might expect me to. I think that's an important thing, just being true to myself.
My confidence is just so much bigger than it used to be, and I'm just so much happier walking down the street as myself now. That's just the best thing.
being myself. Before I transitioned, I guess I spent 30, 40 years acting the way that I thought others expected me to act and denying my real self. So the gender journey for me was finally being who I really am. And I sometimes wish I'd done it sooner, but I'm delighted that I've taken it. And I guess what I've learned is it is a journey, it's not a destination, and the journey continues and continues in different ways. And therefore you don't suddenly get there, but you're making progress along the way. And I think when you've been living a lie for a long time, it takes a long time to be truly comfortable in accepting yourself.
Did you learn something? I did. We'll be back after this short break.
Welcome to Transmission on Bent TV. I'm Sammy Cameron, and today we're talking about support services. Joining me are Greer, Jasper and Zoe. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So what sort of support services do people that are transgender or gender diverse need?
I think that one of the important things is making contact with others who have a similar nature and being able to put it in perspective in their life. So in other words, a social support and then the professional support to follow.
For sure, I think social support is incredibly important, and I think we see that all the time in terms of people wanting to connect. I think there's a lot of professional support that's really valuable as well. I think for a lot of people, like maybe a doctor might be the first person they talk to about being gender diverse in terms of a professional setting, and there's a range of kind of, I guess, like LGBTI specific, but also kind of more mainstream services that people can access.
Yeah, definitely having both the social and the professional sides is very important, because like having the social sides, I can go and feel like I'm not alone in the world, and that I can make friends within the community, but also I can't like talk to them about how like I need to go on hormones, or if I am having a rough time at home or something. Like you can't just drop that on your friends, but you can tell like a psychologist that or something.
So you're all involved in different support social sort of groups. Do you want to just briefly talk about them?
Well, Seahorse has been around for almost 40 years now. We're into our 40th year, so it has been always designed as a social support group, not providing any medical advice as such. And it gives a point of contact for people who need to understand that there's other people out there. In the pre-internet days, and it's still very important to have that personal social contact, not just purely through the internet.
Yeah, yeah, and you're involved with a couple of different groups.
Yeah, I'm a committee member at YGender, and I'm a patron at -18, and I'm...
So YGender is youth, is that right?
Yes, it's for Gen Y, right? I think that's where the name came from. So yeah.
So young people like yourself?
Yeah, it's for like, I think it's 15 to 30-year-olds or something. That's about the age group. So,
and -18 is another group. That's a more broad scale LGBTI group?
Yeah, they usually focus more towards the LGB part of it, but they definitely do involve the T part of LGBT as well. So yeah, I never feel like I'm like an outcast there because of that. And I'm also a member at FTM Shed.
Yeah, and what do they do?
Oh, we just chill and we talk about stuff. Like,
so it's good.
It's very social.
Good to find people with like-minded, and they help each other out with like suggestions of things to do.
Definitely, yeah.
Learning how to shave and you know, boy clothes and all those sorts of things.
We have like a clothes swap. I've gotten like so many free clothes from there. It's great. Awesome.
What about you?
Yeah, so I should say I'm Zoe Birkinshaw and I work for the Zoe Belle Gender Centre, so I'm a different Zoe. So what we do is, or ZBGC as we call it, is currently an online centre to support the health and wellbeing of Victoria's trans and gender diverse populations. So a lot of what the website about at the moment is like online referrals. So if people are looking to engage anyone from like a hairdresser to a psychiatrist who is, works well with the community, they can kind of look on the website. And we also have an anonymous question and answer site where people have, you know, if you have a question around hormones or whatever, you can kind of anonymously ask on the website. And I work on the youth project for the centre, which is around kind of capacity building with youth-based services. So that's kind of like training, consultation and stuff like that.
So there are professionals out there who might come across youth that have gender diverse or trans in some way, and they don't know what to do, so they could contact you, and then you'd be able to give them advice on what to do and how to interact.
Absolutely, that's a huge part of my job. And I think I looked at, I guess, the work that I've been doing over the past 6 months. The project's been going for about 2 years. And I think in terms of workshops and things like that, I'd kind of trained over 500 people in 6 months. So I think, you know, and that's kind of across Victoria. So we're seeing that, you know, people who are working in the sector are really excited to get better at it and are already doing really amazing work, which I think is amazing.
So I think one of the things we've discovered throughout this series is how complex being transgender is, and there's so many different things to think about. So I suppose in support, you not only do you need to make friends and have social support, and that's a really important thing, but you also need to get professionals who are trained. And as you said, a doctor's maybe a place to start, but there are other sorts of professional services that you can get as well. Social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists. I guess they all have. We all have mixed feelings about those sorts of things.
But that is an important point, that it's not a one size fits all. And I think in the past there's probably been a lot of effort to make one size fits all, and it just does not work. And it's important for each of our social groups support groups to, when you do talk to somebody, say, look, you know, we are one of many groups. We might have been around for a long time, but changes occur. Age gets different. You've got to learn to put it in perspective in your own life and go and seek as much advice as you can so that you understand yourself and get the appropriate help for you, and not just blindly follow one person's advice.
And how about the internet? You know, there's websites that have forums. There's things like, you know, social media where there are different groups. There are secret ones and open ones, and there's pages. How should people treat that information? Is it good? Is it useful? Can it be a bit of a mixed blessing? You get the wrong information from those places as well?
I'd say it can be a mixed bag. Like, I think there's a lot of really incredible information online, but I think you know, every time you ask someone an opinion, you're going to get whatever their opinion is, and that, you know, there's differences there. So I think it's always good if you are using the internet to, I guess, check things like several times and talk to professionals and things like that, just to make sure you're getting the correct information for yourself.
So I think, yeah, this matrix of have some friends, have some social support group, see some professionals, read the internet, study, read, those sorts of things is what we all have to do, because there's so much to it.
That's right. Yeah. And in the end, I think all of us wish to be identified as who we see ourselves as, and to be accepted for that. And that's why I think social support sits probably higher than the professional support. Professional support is helping you to get to that social acceptance that you sort of desire.
Okay. So yeah, actually hanging out with people that you feel are somewhat similar to what you yourself are just makes you feel okay.
It's a starting point. It's a starting point, and very important starting point.
And I think it's really great, Greer, just kind of following on from that. When groups, I think we all kind of work together quite well sometimes, and it's that thing of like, a person might want something that this particular group doesn't offer, but we can kind of talk to each other and make sure that we can kind of fill those gaps where we can.
So, you know, the thing that I found, and this is what part of this program is doing for us too, is that social support. It's putting out into the community, say we are human beings, and that's where we want to be in life. And what we're wanting to try and do is say we've got social support, there is professional support, and it's most important that we look after ourselves and have others accept us for who we are.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us and talking to us today. I'm Sammy Cameron on transmission for Bent TV. Thank you for joining us.